On a societal level, mental illness is a contentious topic. Stigma from the media, word of mouth, and medical statistics have given these illnesses a reputation of danger and instability. When a man has a deformity, people look upon him with sympathy and a desire to fix it. When a man has PTSD, however, he is an idol of fear. There are many differences between physical illness and mental illness. However, the treatments the two receive are extremely different, whereas they should be very similar. A key reason for the difference in treatment is violence. Physical illness has very little association with violence, whereas mental illness is almost synonymous with violence. Within this video, I wanted to discuss 5 of the mental illnesses most associated with violence, what they are like, and how measures can be taken to mitigate the dangers these mental illnesses cause for those affected and those around them. I believe it is best to start this list with violence is most associated with 2 negative emotions, sadness and anger. Other illnesses on this list serve as perfect representations of anger. However, depression is the most effective representation of sadness. As an illness, depression leads to fatigue, low self-esteem, self-sabotage, long episodes of sadness, and most drastically, suicidal thoughts. According to the World Health Organization in 2023, more than 700,000 people die due to suicide every year. This only accounts for reported suicides and does not include attempts. Depression is a scary sight for many people. It is one of the most crippling and visceral mental illnesses. The visceral aspect is not only exacerbated by suicide statistics, but also the prevalence of depression amongst mass shooters. The manifestos of the Columbine shooters, Elliot Rodger, and many others paint the picture of individuals driven to hatred by depression and a world that did not help them. Also, within these manifestos, there are suicidal declarations and ideation, the promise of going out with a bang. At the end of their killings, the Columbine shooters and Elliot Rodger killed themselves. They did not intend to live past their days of their crime. Their crimes were their suicides. What I have said paints a deeply morbid picture of depression, a morbidity that unfortunately comes from such an illness of such gravity. However, violent depressives are a microscopic minority of people that suffer with depression. Most depressives can find themselves treatment which keeps thoughts of suicide at bay. These include antidepressants, which have varying levels of effectiveness, therapy, and outward stimulation. The primary way depression harms the afflicted is by keeping them insulated, locked in their rooms away from people and possible hobbies. Depression kills motivation, but it can be killed by distraction. Having people encourage a depressed person to step out of the cage they're in is a key priority for their recovery. Seeing as I have gone into how sadness links to violence, it is now time to delve into how rage-inducing illnesses leads to violence, and the best example of this is
Get this or die! 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 Get this or die!
IED is a condition which seems more like a symptom of an illness rather than an actual illness. This is backed up by its common companionship with disorders such as bipolar, autism, and depression. IED is mainly characterized by compulsive, short, and explosive outbursts of anger. They are not planned, and they often happen in response to minor, annoying stimuli, nothing that deserves the reaction displayed. This is because of how rapid the build-up is. The mind collects annoyances throughout the day, and eventually something breaks the camel's back. Most people can release their rage in controlled ways. However, this requires restraint and time. IED strips away both things. Before they realize they're in a rage, they're in a rage. Unfortunately, due to IED's spontaneous nature, most of the people harmed during IED episodes are not the ones who deserve such rage. IED often finds itself rooted in cases of domestic violence, random assaults, and road rage. Just as with depression, IED is a condition those afflicted with struggle to live with. However, there are treatments for IED. Aside from medications such as fluoxetine, Psychotherapy has been shown to help those with IAD. This is mainly done through relaxation training and exposure to other coping mechanisms which are less outwardly aggressive. For example, rather than screaming something, instead they could write it down. They remove the venom from their system without having to inflict any damage. IAD is caused by compulsion. However, there is another illness that is heavily linked to compulsion. However, whereas IAD has heavy genetic tie, this illness is caused purely by external factors. This is PTSD is the restructuring of the brain that happens to someone in face of traumatic event. Whilst those with exposure to symptoms of anxiety and depression are more susceptible to PTSD, it can happen to anyone. The most common victims of PTSD are those who have either served in war or suffered abuse. The most common symptom of PTSD is flashbacks, period of time where visions of the incident that led to the PTSD developing appear before the afflicted. These flashbacks can be seen as a survival mechanism, a danger warning. However, whether they are practical or not, PTSD flashbacks cause extreme distress on the part of the victim. In humans, distress leads to fight or flight reactions. Therefore, when some PTSD flashbacks occur, the victims react with fight. An example of this was the case of Andrew Brannan, a Vietnam veteran who killed Georgia Sheriff's deputy Kyle Dinkeller in 1998 during a speeding stop. Brennan's PTSD at the time was so bad he was medically classified as disabled. Dinkeller did not intend to hurt Brennan. However, in that moment, Brennan did not view it that way. He saw the flashing lights, saw the officer was armed, and after that it was fight or flight. And for him, he chose fight. He would ultimately be executed in 2015. Men like Brennan are in the minority of people with PTSD who are made violent by their illness. Like most mental illnesses, PTSD is more of a threat to those afflicted with it rather than those around them. Also, like other mental illnesses, PTSD does have solutions. Talk therapy is generally seen as the most effective. Since PTSD episodes involve locking of a person in a mental cage with an event they cannot handle, talk therapy nullifies the effect of the incident on the person. It instigates the process of moving on. Although, according to the NHS, the two medicines recommended to treat PTSD in adults are paroxetine and sterylene. They should be treated as a last resort if the therapy does not work. A key aspect of PTSD is the effects on reality perception. This easily feeds into the penultimate illness on this list. Schizophrenia is one of the most widely known mental disorders. This is mainly due to how visceral its effects are. Schizophrenia's primary symptom is psychosis. Psychosis is where a person has a warped perception of reality. They hear voices that no one else can. They see people no one else can see. Their reality is beyond the comprehension of those around them. Psychosis withdraws people from everyone else. They feel like they're the only sane people in their world. Convincing a schizophrenic their delusions are fake is like trying to convince a regular person that the sun is not hot. You say one thing, yet their reality says another. The grandiose nature of schizophrenic symptoms has led to an overrepresentation of schizophrenics amongst violent offenders. According to America's National Library of Medicine, individuals with schizophrenia are 4 to 7 times more likely to commit violent crimes, such as assault and homicide. The reason for this violence is similar to that of PTSD. The mind delivers a stimulus, a delusion, to the schizophrenic that triggers a fight-or-flight reaction. In the case of the violent offenders, they've chosen to respond with fight under the influence of their psychosis. Since schizophrenia has varying levels of severity, it has varying levels of treatment. Some schizophrenics can have their illness tamed with simple antipsychotics and basic therapy. However, these only work for low levels of delusion. Unfortunately, some schizophrenics are institutionalized due to the severity and longevity of their symptoms for both the safety of themselves and others. Delusions are cages, and sometimes it is better to protect the cage rather than break it. 2 of the mental illnesses on this list have been related to extreme emotion, and the other 2 have been related to alterations in perception. The final illness is the most different from the others, since rather than amplifying something in the brain, this one nullifies it. I am referring to Antisocial personality disorder is the most difficult mental illness to properly treat and live with. Whilst most of ASPD rarely have the quality of their own lives disrupted aside from with institutions of authority, they can degrade the quality of life of those around them. The terms sociopath and psychopath are strongly linked to those with ASPD. Whenever you see a serial killer classified with either of these terms, when you see a person in power labelled with either of these, they are being labelled with ASPD. Most criminals, both violent and non-violent, can be attributed with ASPD. It is in the name, antisocial. They can lie, steal, hurt, all without experiencing the most human emotion, guilt. Violence and being antisocial have been part of human culture since culture's inception. However, as humans have evolved, so have our minds. In the past, you could beat another man to death and feel nothing, since it was advantageous to your survival. But now in a complex social world, empathy and emotional intelligence are far more respected and rewarded than cold-bloodedness. That is where the danger of ASPD comes in. Some people with ASPD are impulsive and blatant in their misunderstanding and lack of typical emotions. They are visible from miles away. If you heard they did something bad, you are not surprised. This is where the more intelligent people with ASPD come in, the businessmen and politicians of ASPD. They know the value of emotional intelligence, therefore learn everything that there is regarding emotions. They can form the perfect imitation. Even if they cannot relate to a single emotion they witness in their lives, the people in their lives will be none the wiser to it. Due to ASPD being so deeply rooted into the personality of the person who has it, it is extremely hard to treat ASPD. It isn't something you try to treat with medication unless you want to destroy the person in the process. Talk and group therapy can be applied, however its effectiveness is mixed. You can only really help those who want to be helped, whether they directly say it or not. However, for many with ASPD, they do not view their problem as one that requires a solution. I hope this video has been informative, and I strongly encourage you to look further into both the mental illnesses I have covered here and those which I have not mentioned. Goodbye.